Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners, City of Bowling Green, Kentucky regular meeting, City Hall, August 17, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. We will now, Ms. Commissioner Melinda Hill will lead us in an invocation first, but pledge allegiance.
You do the pledge first, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's always invocation. I
That's fine.
apologize. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. It's my pleasure to introduce the new pastor from the church where I grew up and also the church where I raised my children. Tonight we have with us the new pastor of Eastwood Baptist Church, Dr. Jeremy Rogers. Dr. Rogers was born and raised in Texas, but now calls Kentucky home. But more importantly, he now calls Bowling Green home. Dr. Rogers is married to Luann, and they have 5 children. And I'm sure you don't have much spare time, but in his spare time, he enjoys reading, writing, hunting, fishing, and playing golf. Dr. Jeremy Rogers, welcome to Bowling Green, the place we all call home.
Let's pray together. Holy Father, we are told in your word that this is the day that you have made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. And so, Lord, we are thankful for the breath that we breathe in each day that we have. God, I pray as we walk through this life and all of the things that surround us in this world are difficult and there are hard things. Today, there will be hard things tomorrow, that we will walk in wisdom and we will walk being led by you. And Lord, we pray that that would be the case even tonight. Lord, that you would supersede and you would oversee the wisdom and the guidance in this room. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
You'll recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Melinda. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Beasley Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Perigin, absent. Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Mayor Alcott.
Here. All right. Next, I'm going to ask Mr. Meisel to provide a few comments, and I believe he has something to let the board know.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to recognize Hope Spiller, who's with us tonight, filling in for Ashley. Hope's our Assistant City Clerk. And under awards and recognitions, just so happens that Hope just completed her Kentucky Municipal Clerks Institute and is now a certified Kentucky Municipal Clerk. So I'd like to congratulate Hope for all of her hard work. We're very proud of her and her accomplishment with this. This was a couple-year process, and she recently was given that up in Lexington a week or so ago. So thank you for that, Hope. And also, we recently, there was some census data recently released, and just want to give everyone just a quick update on that. The city of Bowling Green, came in at 72,294 population. That was a 24.5% increase from the 2010 census, which was 58,067. So we are the #1 fastest growing city in the state. And I would also like to note that Warren County population is now at 134, should have brought my reader, sorry, 554. And that's up from 113,792 in 2010. That was an 18.2% growth, and they are the second fastest growing county in the state. So we must be doing something right. We're both growing leaps and bounds, and given the situation of the pandemic in 2020, I think this is pretty good. I think Brent would agree. Given the uphill battle we had with the pandemic and the restrictions we were under, we were happy to get to the 72,294 number officially as of April 1st, 2020. That's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Meisel. Our first.
Oh, one more, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yes.
One more thing. I would like to request a late file of item number 12 in your packets, Municipal Order 2021-138.
We'll need a movement from the floor.
So moved.
All right, moved by Commissioner, and a second.
Second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Hill. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Perigin, absent, sorry, Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Okay, first will be our approval of our minutes. It was a regular special meeting, August 3rd, 2021.
So move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Bailey. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal Order Number 2021-134.
Municipal order approving the promotion of Megan Van Meter to the position of Procurement Manager in the Finance Department.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
Thank you, Mayor. We are losing our procurement manager, Mrs. Marilyn Perigin, who's done a tremendous job over the years in that position as procurement manager. And we want to thank her and honor her for all of her great years of service that she's provided us. And Katie will, I think, vouch for that. She's been just a tremendous help with all the departments, with our purchasing and keeping us within the procurement model and following the rules. So I'm going to turn this over to Katie. Katie has a recommendation for replacing Marilyn. Katie?
Yes, and I just want to reiterate, Marilyn is retiring at the end of this month, and not to put any pressure on my recommendation, but those are big shoes to fill. Marilyn has really been credited with transforming that purchasing office over the last 9 years since she's been with us. She came to us from the private sector and came in and just absolutely transformed what we were doing, how responsive that office was to the departments, reinventing our surplus processes. So we do everything online now. So she's brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars back to our budget through the 9 years that she's been with us. So I just wanted to say that as I mentioned, she will be retiring at the end of the month. However, that gives us the benefit of having her successor work with her for a couple of weeks and be able to learn from her while she's still here. So the city actually recruited for the position of procurement manager both internally and externally. We received 28 applications. We selected 5 candidates to be interviewed. However, one of those candidates decided to drop out in the process, so we actually interviewed 4, 2 internal and 2 external candidates. Interviews were conducted by myself, Marilyn, Aaron Ballou, Nick Cook, Hillary Hightower, and Tiger Tooley. Following all the the interviews at this point, I am recommending Megan Van Meter to be promoted to fill the position of procurement manager in the finance department. Megan started working for the city in December of 2014 as an office associate in our Parks and Recreation department. I think everybody quickly found how good she is at what she does, and she was quickly promoted to senior office associate in Parks, and then was able to be transferred in a promotion over to the finance department as our financial specialist just about a month apart during the summer of 2018. Megan has worked in the Treasury office of the Revenue Division, where she started in the finance department, but she's also worked in our accounts payable office, so she's been on both sides, collections and expenditure side. So that's been a good benefit for her, and she transferred over to the accounts payable side in the spring of 2020. Megan attended Warren East High School and obtained her bachelor's degree from WKU. I believe Megan possesses the requisite skills and abilities to fill this position and succeed in this new role. She brings a strong work ethic. She is detail-oriented and has an exceptional organizational skill that will definitely help her in this position. In addition to her multitasking capabilities, Megan has a very good comprehensive working knowledge of the city and all of its departments because of the work she's already done in the finance department. So I would like to recommend Megan Van Meter. Megan is here. Would she please stand?
Megan, thank you very much, Katie. Any questions or comments from the floor? All right, we'll do this official. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes, congratulations, Megan. Municipal Order Number 2021-135.
Municipal order authorizing and approving a contract extension for demolition and sinkhole repair services related to bid number 2020-10 from Scott and Ritter, Inc. of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the total amount not to exceed $130,000.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
We went out for bid for the demolition and sinkhole contract last September 2020, and Scott and Ritter was the winning bidder. This is to provide us services anytime we need sinkhole repairs or demolition throughout the year. It's capped at $130,000. We had the option to renew this contract, and we are coming to you tonight. Scott and Ritter has agreed to keep their current unit cost the same for a renewal, and we are asking that you approve that tonight. Brent Childers handles this contract, being with a lot of us go with code enforcement and demolition of structures from time to time, and Public Works uses them obviously as well. So Brent's here, can answer any questions you might have.
Brent, can you explain to the public where this sinkhole is located?
This bid is not for a sinkhole.
Okay.
It is for if we have a sinkhole in the future or if we have to demolish a house in the future. So what we're doing is we budget $130,000 between NCS and Public Works for those expenses should they arise in the future. And so we have Scott and Ritter on contract based on unit cost. So we've, because it's the same equipment, it's an excavator, it's a dump truck, to tear down a house as it is to repair a sinkhole. It's the same equipment, it's the same companies. So several years ago, we partnered together between the two departments. So if a sinkhole occurs, instead of them trying to go out and quote that and bid that and waiting, now they have a contractor on standby based on unit cost. They can call up, they've been procured, and they can send the equipment that they need, and we know what our hourly rate is for what equipment is on site. So there is no, this is not approving the repair to a sinkhole, it's approving an repair should a sinkhole occur that we have to respond to, or should a house need to be demolished through our code compliance division.
Brent, let me ask you a question, and it's kind of like piggybacking on the mayor's question. How often do we get sinkholes here in Bowling Green?
Pretty regularly. It just depends on the rain. After big rains is when they generally appear. What we take care of is sinkholes on public property. So they appear in roads, they appear in right-of-way, they appear in drainage basins, they appear in different areas that we're responsible for, but they also appear on private property where the property owner is responsible for those. So instead, let's say a sinkhole appears in a road. Previously, before we did this contract, they had to assess it, go get bids, go get it quoted, go get everything done, and then they could go fix it unless it was an emergency declaration. And now they can just call up Scott and Ritter, we've already got the cost, and we can go repair that, move it, so it allows us to respond to things more efficiently. So sinkholes can appear at any time, generally following a rain. If you ever want to know more than you ever asked about sinkholes, ask Matt Powell. He will give you more information than you ever cared to know about sinkholes and karst topography. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal Order Number 2021-136.
Municipal order approving actions of the city manager and accepting an emergency purchase for police vehicles from Don Franklin Chrysler Dodge located in Somerset, Kentucky in an amount not to exceed $390,000.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
So in your packets, we had a memo from Captain Belden Perry at Police, has been working on this for vehicles. The situation we're in is that we are now using about 100 vehicles that are 70,000 miles or over. We had awarded a bid back in May to Gilly Hyde for 12 more vehicles. We found out those have never gone to production, and we're getting to the point where we're using the majority of the reserve vehicles of Crown Vics. So if another vehicle or two goes out, we have no backup vehicles in place. So we feel like we need to move on this. So staff at the police department went on a search. We have found 12 police vehicles that we believe are a good fit for us, located in Somerset, Kentucky. And we would like to move ahead and use FY22 budget money to go ahead and get those vehicles. We are going to leave the FY21 purchase with Gilly Hyde. We still have the PO outstanding. We're going to hopefully cross our fingers and hold our breath that they can come through with that order and get those vehicles as well soon. So we're coming to you tonight. We wanted to, it's such a tedious, long process to bid these out. We feel like we need to get these as soon as possible, and while they're out there and available, they had 50 as of a week ago, and we were able to get 12 of those. It fits within our budget, and so I'm asking for your permission for us to move forward and buy 12 vehicles. There's 3 Dodge V6 all-wheel drive Chargers and 6 Dodge Durangos V6 all-wheel drive that we can get for $372,870, which is within our budget, and get them within the next week or two. They already are upfitted to some extent with equipment that we already need, and so we can get these in service, and we just don't need to go, I don't feel like we need to go into the cold weather months and put more strain and stress on our fleet division. If we have a bad winter with snow and ice and they're trying to service public works, they're trying to service police cars that are breaking down, we feel like we need to move on this. So with your permission, we would like to go ahead and get these vehicles from Don Franklin Chrysler Dodge over in Somerset, Kentucky. Chief Delaney is here. Deputy Chief Penny Bowles is here. We can answer questions on this if you have it.
Is this due to a national inventory
This
shortage?
is just part of the national challenge with getting vehicles with the chips and the fobs, and you've heard stories of the Ford sitting up there in Louisville on the fairgrounds lot without any fobs or chips and can't do anything with them. It's just the vehicle shortage nationwide, and with the specially needed on police vehicles and the packages that they need, it makes it even more of a challenge finding those vehicles. So we were very fortunate, we feel like, finding these 12 vehicles in Somerset. There was another lot they looked at in Indiana, but we feel like this is the better deal with the dealership over in Somerset. And Chief Delaney, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Miles, just one question. Do we have like any, I know you addressed it at the last hearing when we addressed the Gilly Hyde. Was there any car lot that was here that was willing to, I guess, meet those demands with the amount that we were going to pay?
When we bid it out,
Yeah, the bids.
I don't think there were any. They were the closest local vendor that.
Somerset?
No,
Gilly
Gilly
Hyde.
Hyde
Gilly
in
Hyde.
Glasgow. They're in Glasgow.
Oh, I'm talking about the replacement, the ones that we're getting right now, the 12.
Oh, yeah.
We
There was
called-
nothing locally.
No, we called all the local dealerships. That's where we started, and then we moved regionally. And the search expanded out to Somerset, Indiana, calling every dealership, Ford, Chevrolet, and Dodge, trying to find any police vehicles that we could, that were viable.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question. So I'm really glad that we were able to find these vehicles, especially with the national shortage. And so that makes me a little nervous that we're holding on to this PO with Gilly Hyde with the hopes that eventually they'll arrive. Is it, I guess my question, I don't know if this is a finance question, but why are we holding on to that? Because it may get worse. Like, what if the national shortage gets even longer? Is there a possibility to go ahead and close that and try to find the ones we need for FY21?
We don't want to close that, because if we close it and drop it, it puts us further back in line for vehicles. So we're still in the queue, and it keeps us higher on the list to be the next one to get vehicles. So if we close that out and say no deal, we have to go back out and bid and look even harder. It was hard enough finding these in Somerset. So we're going to give Gilly Hyde more time. We have a locked-in price with them. We just locked it in as May, and I think it's good for at least a year. So we have more time. We're going to hold with that contract for now and try to get those still from Gilly Hyde, because if we cancel that, we're starting from scratch. And all these police agencies around the country are looking for vehicles and equipment as well, and it would put us further back on the list on getting vehicles and equipment.
Well, I guess I just wanted to voice my support that if we find out through the grapevine that there's some vehicles available elsewhere, I would be in support of whatever we need to do to get what you all need, just because I'm worried about that vehicle shortage and how that might impact your all's work.
Thank you. I visited Public Works, and it takes our technicians a couple weeks to get a vehicle retrofitted as well. So I think these 12 are going to keep him quite occupied for the next few months.
But we're getting a few things on these though, right, Mike?
They're coming with spotlights and some of the things that Keith would have to wire up and put on there. So, and Keith has agreed to stay. He's planning on retiring soon, but he's agreed to stay to get all these vehicles upfitted before he retires. So that's going to push his retirement date back further. And that was one of the things in consideration. We needed to get these vehicles in while we still had Keith at Fleet to upfit them for us.
Got to mention
Takes
that.
personal pride in that. It's really cool to see. Thank you. All right, great questions. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2021-137.
Municipal order authorizing a subrecipient agreement between the City of Bowling Green and Bowling Green Human Rights Commission for Year 18 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, program funding in an amount of $35,000.
I'll move.
Second?
Moved by Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Hill. Mr. Mizel.
So it's hard to believe, but we are in our 18th year of CDBG funding. This started back in FY04. That was our first year. So FY22 is year 18. And we're coming to you tonight, following up from a July 28th meeting that we had with you, where we presented our annual action plan. Nick and Brent brought that to you. Tonight, we are taking the next step and proposing to enter into our agreement with the Human Rights Commission, which we have had in place for several years now, to provide services for a fair housing education and outreach program. And we are proposing to give them an amount of $35,000 to provide workshops and public events for this program, to give information to the community on fair housing laws and issues related to housing discrimination. They have been a good partner with us. They assist citizens in filling and resolving housing and discrimination complaints and serve as a portal for that, and work with them for mediation, education, and counseling. So we have some representatives from the Human Rights Commission with us tonight. Thank you all for coming. And Brent and Nick have put this together, but we are proposing to award them the $35,000 contract again to provide this service that we cannot provide as city staff. So Brent and Nick are here, can answer any questions, but this is just the follow-up agreement that we typically do every year for the CDBG money to hand this off to Human Rights Commission.
If it's a win-win for us, we bring the money in. Thank you, Nick, and we're able to have our Human Rights Commission to help us out and be community partners. So we thank you, ladies, for the work that you're providing for our community. Any further comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2021-33, first reading and is non-binding.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 5.5412 acres from AG Agriculture to GB General Business located at 5463 Russellville Road, presently owned by 31W Holdings LLC.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
This was a 5-0 unanimous vote by the Planning Commission. You have in your packets all the information, minutes from that meeting, as well as a map showing where this property is on Russellville Road. Mr. Ben Peterson is also with us tonight and can answer any questions you might have.
I have a couple questions, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Peterson. So I noticed that this application was in the Walnut Valley focal point area. So could you explain for our citizens about what this extra layers are? Maybe explain maybe how Lover's Lane is one and how we've seen the impact of that so we can get some context for this extra layer of criteria.
Sure. We have several focal point plans or focal point areas throughout Warren County. Most of those are in the city, and this one's Walnut Valley Focal Point Plan, which is one of our oldest focal point plans. So in addition to the development guidance in our comprehensive plan, but also the development regulations in our zoning ordinance, the Walnut Valley Focal Point Plan provides additional guidelines, and they're guidelines, not necessarily regulations, in which to strive to meet in these areas that are designated as a focal point plan. So there are just different things like increased open space. You mentioned Lover's Lane and Cemetery Road is kind of two special ones. They have actual architectural review of developments involved in those. So this particular one that for this project is, as you mentioned, was the Walnut Valley, and it does have a handful of additional items that should be considered whenever considering a zone change or development in this area.
I am looking in particular, if my other commissioners wanted to know where I'm looking, in the staff packet. It starts with the, you get behind the staff summary, it then goes to the CCPC type of papers, and then it goes to a weird numbering of APP-82. And I guess up top it says 37 of 43. But it's the Focus 2030, Warren County Bowling Green Focus 2030 Comprehensive Plan, and then it says Walnut Valley General Policy Guidance for Growth Focal Points. And in here it talks about wanting to make sure that growth in this area is, I'm thinking through with connecting to the Greenbelt System Master Plan for Warren County and Bowling Green. And in particular, on the second page, so APP-83, it is asking for a minimum of 20% of the tract to be developed and should be set aside and maintained as open space, and that it should interconnect by a minimum of a 3 feet wide walking trail. And I did not see that in the final, remind me of the term we now use for the development plan conditions. Is that the correct term?
Preliminary development plan or
Okay,
the development
yeah.
plan conditions, yes.
So was that in the final version?
So the 20% open space in the zoning that they were requesting is general business, and that already requires a minimum of 20% open space. So that is, I guess, just met by regulation, so they didn't have to add anything there. But they did not provide any additional recommendations or development plan conditions concerning walking trails or greenway.
Okay, well, that is definitely a concern for me. I wish they were here so that we could talk about it because I do, this community has come together and said, here's what really important for us and moving forward and the infrastructure that we expect for neighbors who are coming in. And so that is going to be hard for me to support this plan. Thank you for answering that question. That's it. Thank you.
Any other further questions, comments? All right, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
No.
Hill,
Yes.
Bailey,
No.
Alcott.
Yes. All right. Ordinance number BG 2021-34, first reading, non-binding.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 1.84 acres from HB Highway Business to LI Light Industrial located at 530 Corvette Drive, presently owned by Cave Mill Station, LLC.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Mizel.
This was another 6-0 unanimous vote by the Planning Commission, property out close to our Corvette plant. Map is in your packet, and this one provided for our 4 city and our 4 county plus 1 rep from Plum Springs to participate in this. And again, Mr. Peterson is here and can answer any questions you have, and the map is in your packets.
Comments or questions for Mr. Peterson? All right, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2021-36, it is our first reading and is non-binding. Sorry, 35. I read the, I'll start over. Ordinance number BG 2021-35 is our first reading, non-binding.
Ordinance annexing right-of-way by consent. Ordinance annexing 22.88 acres of property located at 2464 Cumberland Trace Road with property presently owned by Warren County Board of Education and 94.49 acres of right-of-way of Interstate 65 and Cumberland Trace Road, presently owned by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, for a total of 117.37 acres, with said territory being contiguous to existing city limits.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
So this is the site of the new Cumberland Trace Elementary School on Cumberland Trace Road. Warren County Schools came to us and requested annexation. Brent Childers went to work, and we found the connections where it was contiguous. We did have to connect to some right-of-way of I-65 and Cumberland Trace Road, where the state worked with us as well. And but we got it all put together. And in your package is the map showing the annexed area, the existing annex in the county, and showing that parcel that the school is requesting to be annexed for, obviously, city services such as police and fire. So Brent is here, can answer any questions you might have on this annexation, but it was voluntary, requested by Warren County Schools.
Previous school was already annexed. Was that in the case? Maintained. Thank you.
I have a comment and a question. First, I just want to welcome Cumberland Trace's new school into the city limits. It's beautiful. I drove by it the
Nice.
other day. It's just gorgeous. And then I know there's a new neighborhood going in all around
Behind it.
it. And so I wasn't sure if we think that that will also be annexed, or if that's something that you should not talk about in this space.
No, I can
Okay.
talk about it. I've approached the original developers of that property and kind of talked to them whenever I'd reached out to the school about the possibility after the site was chosen for the new school. And they didn't have a lot of interest. It sold over. And so now that it's already transferred out, the challenge of going back and getting that annexed through a consensual would be even greater. So I don't look for that to annex. So really, this was focused on the school, the protection of the children at the school, providing police and fire, since Cumberland Trace Elementary was down the road in the city limits, and now they're moving down the road. We wanted to maintain that city limit, so we had to extend the city limits to their new site. Since they were already in the existing city school in the city. I want to make sure everybody understands that. So this was really focused on the school, and the right-of-way had to come along with it to allow us to make the connection.
And is Cumberland Trace, the road part, will that also be city in terms of plowing for snow days and things like that?
Oh, it's still a state right-of-way.
Okay.
So that is a numbered road.
Okay.
So that's a state right-of-way, so the state is responsible for all the maintenance along Cumberland Trace Road as part of this annexation. So even though
Just
we're
police and fire?
Yeah,
Okay.
just police and fire.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
All right, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2021-36, first reading, non-binding.
Ordinance relating to property tax rates. Ordinance setting 2021 property tax rates, franchise tax rates, and improvement assessment rates, and setting forth guidelines for payment, penalty, and interest.
So move.
Second?
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
So it's that time of year again to set our property tax rates, and I'm going to turn it over to Katie Shallow-Ward, our Assistant City Manager, CFO, to make a brief presentation and give you an overview of what we're looking at here. Katie?
Won't guarantee it's brief.
Sorry, shouldn't have said that.
That's okay. But I do want to present to you the recommendation for the 2021 property tax rates. So we recently received the property assessments from the Property Valuation Administrator's Office, and these are for values as of January 1st of 2021. And so we've completed the computations, and we're prepared now to make that recommendation for the 2021 tax rates for both real estate and personal property. So just to give you a little bit of information in terms of our total property growth, again, this is just real estate. So total assessed value on real estate in the city limits for 2021 is over $6.1 billion, which is a 5.7% growth rate, or almost $331.6 million over the previous year. Since the city has now reached the $6 billion mark, we are now required by state statute to pay the PVA office $100,000 for their annual assessment. That's a $40,000 increase over the previous year. We did anticipate this coming, so it is included in the 22 budget, but I wanted you to be aware of that. We do have to pay for this service. Certainly $100,000 is a lot less expensive to us than us trying to do it ourselves. And if we just look at the existing property growth, again, this is the real estate assessments. It grew by 3.2%, or just under $186.8 million for the 2021 year. And then the new property assessments in 2021 adds another 2.5%, or just under $144.8 million over the FY20 values. So here's the calculation sheet. There's not a lot to it, but basically we have to go through this computation. We have to determine what our compensating rate is for the year, which basically says whatever we were going to get in 2020, if we were to want to just keep the same amount of revenue, then this would be the compensating rate. So it would be 19.9 cents if we were to do that. However, we also want to look at all the calculations involved in this and consider what we have already put in the budget. So to achieve the same revenue as last year using the 2020 tax assessments, excluding new property, in 2020, the 20.5 cents could have produced approximately 11.8 million in potential revenues. That's identified with capital letter A toward the middle to bottom of the page on that worksheet. However, our actual collections for 2020 were just under 11.2 million, which is about a 94% collection rate, and that's pretty consistent for us. This in part is because not all applied exonerations for 2020 are known when we put this tax rate together. And also we cannot guarantee 100% collection. But for residents 65 years and older, there's a homestead exemption, which is now $40,500. The state Kentucky Office of Property Valuation Administration actually sets that rate, so we have no control over it. They set that rate for a 2-year period, so that is what's in place for 2021 and 2022. It's a 3.1% increase over the last 2 years' rate, which was $39,300. So again, we don't know when we're putting these calculations together who is going to be able to apply for the exemption, who would be eligible for that. So by January 1 of the beginning of the year, anyone during the year could come in and say, I've reached the age, I can now apply for my exoneration or homestead exemption, and we just won't have that information as we're putting our taxes together.
If you don't mind, may I ask a question before you go on from that?
Absolutely.
So do the citizens have to ask for that homestead
They
exemption?
do. Yes.
So you're not going to send a note, congratulations, you're 65?
No.
Okay.
No, just about like everything else. They have to go and request that exoneration. They have to go to the PVA's office with the county. Again, City of Bowling Green has nothing to do with any of that. So they do have to apply for that through the PVA's office.
Takes it off city and county.
It does. Yeah. So whatever their assessed value is, it reduces it by that amount.
Would you, sorry, follow-up question, just because I've also had this in relation to this question. Can you explain that they'll still receive the property taxes for the school system? And that's a little confusing.
We'll get with that, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. There is some confusion there, but I will get to that. Okay, yeah. So again, that 40,500 number, is that what I told you? 40,500 is the amount that would be reduced from someone's assessed value. And so if they receive a property tax and it doesn't reflect that, they can then request that there be a change in their invoice amount for the property tax. So the other piece we have to look at is we're allowed by statute to consider a 4% rate increase. And it's a 4% rate is the maximum allowable, which does not require it being subject to recall. So if the city chose, it could increase the rate up to the 4% and it could not be challenged. Anything over 4% could potentially be challenged. So the 4% rate would be 20.7 cents, and it could potentially produce 12.6 million. Again, because we really only collect 94%, we don't know the exonerations, we don't know all that's going to apply. It would probably be around 11.9 million. So that's what the 4% would bring in. But what we're recommending is not to change our rate. Our current rate is 20.5 cents, which falls between the compensating rate and the 4% growth rate. So that 20.5 cents could potentially produce 12.5 million in potential revenues. However, again, we know we can't collect 100% of that. So 94% collection rate is close to 11.7 million. So our FY22 budget figure is 11.75 million. I have to say kudos to our revenue division manager, Sean Weeks, who puts together that revenue budget, and he was right on target. So again, I'm not proposing to change the rate. We keep the rate the same, but for our FY22 budget figure, again, that's 11.75 million, and that 11.75 million is about 7.6% increase over our FY2021 budget amount, but it's also about 5.2% increase over our actual collections for 2021, which was just under the 11.2 million. So that's a 5.2% increase. And so, as I mentioned, this Board of Commissioners and previous Board of Commissioners basically has wanted us to continue to thrive and survive with the revenues we can produce without changing our rate. So we're really looking at increases in assessed values that we can then gain benefit of for our budget. And again, so I'm not recommending a change. It would be 20.5 cents for every $100,000 of assessed value. So if someone has a home that's worth $100,000, that's the assessed value, it would be $205 for that, for this year's property tax. Because our rate falls between the compensating rate and the 4%, I have to have a public hearing. So this presentation will be repeated at an actual public hearing. We have advertised that public hearing. By statute, we have to advertise it 2 times. And so we advertised it in August 11th newspaper, and we're going to advertise again tomorrow in the August 18th paper. And then we'll have the public hearing on August 26th at 4 p.m. It will be virtual. Similar to what we did last year, to me, it makes it a little bit more open for people to participate and attend if it's virtual. You do not have to participate. I sent you all the appointment, but you do not, since it's the same presentation, basically. You don't have to hear it more than once if you don't want to. But again, so we are presenting this tonight, the ordinance for first reading, because it's not binding. We're going to have the public hearing in between first and second reading. So second reading would not be until the September 7th regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, which then would make the ordinance binding. And at that point, if there are any issues with the public hearing, then we can readdress it at that point. This is just a history of our growth in new assessments versus existing, and then the total, and then where our tax rate has fallen. So in the past 10 years, our tax rate has remained, well, actually longer than that. So our tax rate has remained unchanged since 2008 through 2017, and that was at the 20.6 cents. In 2018, we lowered the rate to 20.5 cents because existing growth exceeded 4%. And so this is now the fourth year where we're trying to keep the rate at the 20.5 cents. And a comparison to other averages with cities and counties and school districts when it comes to property tax rates, the city of Bowling Green is well below the averages across the state. Now, those are 2020 rates because I don't yet have the information for 2021 rates, but again, you know, we're still well below. For personal property tax, that rate has remained unchanged since 1980, and it was 30 cents before that, so it has remained at 26 cents for the last 30 years or so. So we're not proposing to change that either. We're going to keep that at 26 cents. For the City of Bowling Green FY22 annual operating budget, total taxes, which includes real estate, personal property, insurance premiums, bank franchise fees, the telecommunications franchise fees, payment for penalty and interest on property taxes, in addition to our transient room tax and then our natural gas franchise fee. All of that combines to be property taxes in the budget. So when you look at your budget summary, when we're referring to property taxes, it's all those things, not just real estate. Real estate of the general fund makes up 62.5% of that number. So it is significantly the largest resource that we have. It is second to our occupational fee. So it's a very important revenue source for us. And as I mentioned, the total taxes represents about 18.3% of our all revenues budget, and then approximately $22.3 million or 24.9% of, or I'm sorry, that's at 23.3 million. So general fund would be 24.9% of all revenues, and then that's 18.8 million, and that's for general fund. And again, real estate makes up 62.5% of that. Sorry if I might have confused you on that. And then now this is a comparison. Again, these are 2020 rates I am comparing to because I don't really know much yet in terms of what the other entities are doing in town. I believe that the Bowling Green Independent School District is going to keep their rate the same. I think I've heard that, and I think I've also heard that the county has had their first reading and not proposing any changes to their rates either. I have not heard anything about the Warren County School District, and then of course the Commonwealth of Kentucky property tax rate has basically remained unchanged too for a while. So again, Bowling Green, 20.5 cents is well below the other entities in our area. And same thing with the 26 cents on the personal property tax. So now I'll get to the information, Commissioner Beasley Brown, that you mentioned. Persons that own property in the city of Bowling Green will receive 2 property tax invoices. They will receive one for the city and one for the county. Also, for those individuals who live in the the Bowling Green Independent School District, that tax will be on the city's tax bill. We do not control the amount that they charge. We just simply collect it on their behalf and then remit it back to them. So they would see that on our property tax invoices if you live in the city limits. If you're in the county, obviously the county collects for the Warren County School District. And so again, you would just receive the county bill. If you're not in the county school district and you're in the city school district, then you would only receive one rate for a school district on one of those invoices. Just depends on which district you're in.
Katie, how does it work if you're city annex, but you're going to a county school?
City annex really doesn't mean anything different. It's all the city of Bowling Green city limits. So in terms of the independent school district, it's a very small defined area of the city. I think was established in the 1950s and has not changed. So when we annex or we refer to city annexed areas, almost all of those areas are going to be in the county school district. But it's so those individuals will receive on their county tax bill for the county school district.
Thank you.
Okay, so city taxes are due December 31st, 2021. December 31st is the date we have used always. There is, this year, December 31st actually falls on a Friday, which is what is going to be the day that the city offices are closed in observance of the New Year holiday, because New Year's is on Saturday. So we will be closed that Friday, the 31st. However, we are basically providing a 3-day grace period before penalty and interest apply. So as long as your taxes, if you mail it, is stamped by December 31st, postmarked by December 31st, or if you use our drop box outside of the City Hall Annex, or if you pay online, as long as you do that by December 31st at 11:59 p.m., you're not going to have any penalty or interest added. Even if you do it on January 1st or January 2nd, no penalty and interest. We will apply penalty and interest on that Monday, which would be January 3rd. But ultimately, penalty and interest would apply on January 1st, but this year is just a 3-day grace period. We won't be in the office, and we're not going to worry about it at this point. But there are multiple ways that people can pay their bills. So they can pay it in person, by mail, they can submit payment online. We've been doing a lot more of that lately. I believe it's a $2 fee, but it could be very much more convenient for people to do that than to try and come in. And as I mentioned, the 10% penalty would apply, but again, there's a 3-day grace period this year. The persons with mortgage escrow accounts that are set up to actually pay their taxes, some of the mortgage companies obviously pay that on their behalf. If the mortgage company requests information from us, we would provide it to them, but a tax bill will be mailed to the property owner. And again, like I said, if the mortgage company requests it, we'll mail one to them. But it is ultimately the property owner who is responsible to make sure that payment is made. So they'll want to follow up with their mortgage company and or call us to make sure that we have received their payment. Many mortgage companies wait until the last minute or wait until mid-December to make those payments. So again, you know, people need to kind of be mindful of that and follow through if they feel like their mortgage company hasn't followed through, or they just want to verify it, because they will be responsible, and if not paid on time, they will be hit with penalty and interest. We mail about, I think we're going to estimate over 23,000 invoices in property taxes, and we probably receive back 1,000 of those because of wrong addresses. So from January 1 to when we mail these property taxes out in October, there could have been sales of real estate and new people now own property, and so we might have the wrong address for certain individuals. What we request is that the individuals call us, verify their address if they have moved during the year, and make sure that we do have the correct address on file. They should also contact the Property Valuation Administrator's office and change it with them, because really that address comes from that office. That's the address we're using. So they need to make that permanently changed with PVA's office, but then also make sure that we have it updated. We will try our best to get those addresses checked and re-verified, and then mail out however many we get of those through the period of time that we have. And then tax invoice is similar to the same format as last year. It's an 8.5 by 11 sheet with a tear bottom that's then remitted with payment. And if property owners don't receive their tax invoice by November 1st, we do ask that they contact our office. We anticipate mailing out property taxes, those invoices in October, might be mid-October, but we are looking for an October date. Last year, I believe it was the first week of October, which was the first time for us to get them out that early. I would like to think we could do that again, but I can't guarantee that at this point. So if a property owner hasn't received a tax invoice by November 1st from us and they live in the city limits, then they should contact our office. Any questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you, and I'm honored to be on this commission and be able to say we've held these rates for this long. So thank you all very much for being the frugal people that you are. I really appreciate it.
We'll try to do that as long as we can sustain it and be fiscally responsible with it. I can't guarantee it forever, but as I mentioned, obviously we will have an actual public hearing on August 26th at 4 p.m. It will be virtual. And if anyone has any questions and they want to have those addressed, they're welcome to submit those to my office before the public hearing. The information's there on the screen. We also had that in the information that went in the publication in the newspaper and on social media. So we've used all of our advertising options out there to get the information out to the public about it. But if there are any questions between now and then, they can certainly submit those to me in writing. They can fax them, email them, whatever the way they want to do it, mail them in, and then we'll address that at the public hearing. But then we'll also address any other questions or comments during the public hearing.
I also want to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just want to add my thanks to your whole team and Sean for taking this complicated computation and calculations and making it, taking the time to really explain it to our citizens so that we really are making sure that we are transparent and we are making sure that our citizens are confident that we are being good stewards of the hard paying taxpayer dollars that they send us. I just had a follow-up question. I don't know if this is for City Manager Jeff Meisel, but I do think it's important to, because we're growing and we're going to bring in more revenue. And although we're keeping our tax rate the same, we're going to be bringing in more revenue. So I do think it's important. With the city manager, you were talking earlier about how our city has grown. And so if you could just maybe talk a little bit about how that, having the same, if we brought in the same amount of money, so lower the tax rate and just brought the same amount of money, how we would not be able to maintain the current level of services because we have more people to take care of. So if you maybe could explain that in terms of the pressures on our police and fire and public works and all that as we grow and why it's important to maintain this rate and what that extra revenue is important.
Yeah, property taxes, I won't say they're 100% recession-proof, but they have been a great stabilizer this last year or so with the economy and the pandemic and the shutdowns. They really kind of buoyed us during FY20. And so, as you mentioned, this business is not getting any cheaper to run. And with the retirement contribution rates that we're paying now for police and firemen, I think it's up to 40 or 47% of their gross wages that we are paying into CRS for retirement. It's an expensive endeavor. And so as we grow, as the population grows of the city, we're going to need more public safety. And I feel like I've always said public safety is our bedrock. If we don't have public safety, we don't have a city, and we don't have a good, safe community, and quality of life doesn't matter if you don't have a safe community. So protecting lives, protecting property is one of our number one priorities. And so with this money, as we grow, if we let this rate, if we ever go with a compensating rate and we leave more or less money on the table, this year I think we're looking at a potential of $360,000 if we didn't leave the rate at 20.5 cents per hundred. That's what that's 11 police cruisers that we couldn't buy. So we do the best we can with what we bring in. we've been fortunate to have this 5 to 6% property assessment growth each year between existing and new property, and hopefully that will continue. And so, but we can't go backwards. We've got to keep building the engine bigger and bigger, and with withholding taxes being our number one revenue, property taxes being our number two, we've got to keep the engine rolling and building and build it bigger and stronger as we go. So it's critical that we capture all we can without taxing the citizens any more than we have to. And so that's what we've put together, Katie's put together before you tonight with that 20.5 cent rate. We feel like that is a good in-between rate. We can live with it. We're still capturing natural growth in assessment, and we're staying below other cities. We're staying competitive. And I feel like that's a big reason we're growing at 24.5% with our population. People recognize that Bowling Green is an affordable place to live. Taxes are state, we keep taxes low. We haven't changed it. We haven't changed our occupational tax either in a long time. And we're going to try to ride that out as long as we can. And there may come a point where we can't. But as for this year, we're going to keep it the same and do the best we can. Hopefully that answers your question.
No, yeah, thank
Sorry
you for
I'm
help.
long-winded.
No, I thank you for explaining, that revenue side, because I think it can be confusing about keeping the rate same, but then there's more revenue, so.
And one more comment about the city schools, Bowling Green Independent Schools. I'm not trying to go to bat for them, but their area is roughly 7.5 square miles that hasn't changed since the 1950s and 60s. It's basically 1960 Bowling Green. 7.5 square miles, mostly downtown, with one exception being Eastland Park out there by Bowling Green High School, being within that, what we call city proper, the old Bowling Green. And since 1960, for 50 years, that has not been able to grow. And so that's why they're stuck with having to have an 84-cent rate per 100 tax rate. People don't understand that. But the 7.5 square miles within our 40 square miles of city is what we're collecting for the Bowling Green Independent School System. So that's on our bill. They do compensate us for collecting that for them. And in return, we get them a pretty good return rate. We collect 98% most years of our property taxes through the work of the finance department, chasing down those people, getting them to pay, and getting that collected by usually the following June 30th of the year and get that remitted to the city schools. So it's been a good partnership, but that's the line item that those people will see on the city tax bills.
Thank you. And so our citizens who receive a homestead exemption, they'll still receive a City of Bowling Green tax bill, because that's going to have the city school district taxes on it, and that does not get exempt. And that's the same with our Bowling Green residents who also live in the county schools area. So both will still receive, even if they have a homestead exemption, for our taxes that we would have collected.
Right, so because it's as of January 1st of the year, the homestead exemption could be applied after that. And so it does not apply, as I understand, to the school systems, but it does apply to the city and county property taxes.
I think it does,
Does it apply to the school systems?
It's across the board.
It lowers your value,
And
and
if
that, both of them are
Yeah,
calculated
it
on that
lowers the
value.
taxable value across the board, city,
Yes.
county, schools, everything. And so if you turn 65 on January 5th, that was cut off at January 1st. That assessment, that homestead exemption may not be at PVA. So someone turning 65 in the year of that assessment can go to PVA and get that adjusted.
Thank you.
This has been asked of me before, and I hope you can answer this. The way I understand it, Bowling Green City Schools, that's 7 miles. How can that be changed, or can it be changed to increase it? Because obviously that is not a true representation of our city now.
It take
Legislative action.
General Assembly action similar to us getting a local option sales tax. It's a very heavy
It's
lift.
nothing, I just want our citizens to understand, it's nothing we can change. The city school district cannot change it. It has to
That's-
be done in Frankfurt.
That's why we have big, huge subdivisions in the middle of Bowling Green, Bentry, Briarwood, and so on that are a county school district because of that 1960 rule that never got changed and adjusted. But it would take General Assembly action.
And once again, for our citizens, we, the city commission, do not control those school taxes.
Have nothing to do with it.
Thank you.
Nor do we have anything to do with the school districts themselves either.
Yes, thank you.
All right. No further questions. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes,
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2021-30, second reading, binding.
Ordinance relating to classification pay schedule. Ordinance amending the classification pay schedule D for department head / management of the city of Bowling Green for fiscal year 2022.
so move.
Second.
By Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Musil.
Second reading,
Second reading.
just a name change on
So
one
this
of
was
our
unanimous, I think, from both
department head.
the Planning and Commission and from our board. So any further questions?
This was a, where we changed the IT director name from Chief Information Officer to IT Director. We're in the process of hiring an IT director, so we needed to make this change.
Understood. Thank you. Further questions? Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes,
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2021-31, second reading, binding.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinances. Ordinance amending Chapter 2, Administration of the City of Bowling Green Code of Ordinances.
so move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. This was second reading. It was unanimous, 5-0 vote from our from our commission. Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes,
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Ordinance number BG 2021-32, second reading, binding.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing .21 acre from RM4 multifamily residential to CB central business located at 719 Chestnut Street, presently owned by Chestnut Group Properties LLC.
So moved.
second.
Moved by Commissioner Beasley Brown, second by Commissioner Hill. This was unanimous from our board. No further questions. Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes,
Bailey,
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2021-138.
Municipal order authorizing the acceptance of a third coronavirus relief fund allocation for reimbursement of incurred expenses in coronavirus relief funds with the Department for Local Government and authorizing and directing the mayor to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by the Department for Local Government to reimburse the city of Bowling Green and further authorizing the mayor to act as the authorized correspondent for reimbursement.
so move.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Bailey. Mr. Musil.
So just last week, we got notification that the state had some leftover CARES money that was not distributed. I think some smaller cities had nothing to submit to claim their money, so went back into the pool. And I'd like to thank KLC. I think KLC went to bat for us, bigger cities, for the Department of Local Government to divvy out this remaining money that was left over. I think, was it 11 or 12 million, something in that area. And so we were notified that we could receive $509,479 in additional CARES money, and we have until September 1st to get this applied for, and we want to bring it to you tonight. Sorry for the late file, but we just found out last week. And I think this brings us, according to my math, this would bring us to a little over $7 million in CARES money over 3 different distributions. So I'd like to get your approval to get this before September 1st. Nick, and I'd like to thank Nick for jumping on this too, and Brent for bringing this to us last week. And Katie is working on it, and we're going to get this submitted ASAP as soon as you all approve it.
Well done, Nick. We keep working. Your work has brought in spades to our community, and we're talking about property assessment of values, and you're bringing that back to our community, so thank you. Further questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Please check to see if we have anyone that would like to make public comments tonight. Okay. Well, thank you for everybody being here tonight. Our next scheduled meeting will be September 7th, 2021. We are adjourned.